I mentioned that we're recording each class so that if you're not here, it will be sent out to you in a YouTube link that's not listed, so no one can find it unless you have it. But Lindsay is traveling for work tonight, and so she asked that it be provided to her, and I'm happy to do that. So we had a little bit of a technical difficulty because it appears that week 2 of Mary Manamorsky's video content is in fact a 7-minute promotion of another program she has. And I don't believe that that's what was intended to be. Which means that you will see my improvisational skills in full effect, and we're hoping that they're strong. And they usually are fairly strong. And actually, I'm going to show you guys the 7-minute promotional video because my guess is it is intended to be in this thing, but it's just not supposed to be week 2. And it's a 90-day thing that she gives us as participants for free. And I mean, I'm like, you should totally take advantage of it. It's for free. It's just not going to be the substance of the class. So let's just clear our laps for a moment as we move into our time of centering. And I just ask you to double check your phones and make sure that your ringers are off. And I always ask that we turn them off of silent even, because, or vibrate, because I find even vibrate can be pretty distracting. All right. So I'm just going to invite us to do a little bit of intentional breathing as we get into our bodies in this space. And in order to do that, I just invite you to inhale to the count of 4 and exhale to the count of 4. Do it at your own pace, but just give your body that gift, because in my experience, we oftentimes do not breathe adequately. And as we contemplate the idea of sufficiency, it is curious to look at the many ways that we withhold something as very basic as our breath to our body. So just take a few moments of breathing in on 4 and out on 4. And as we get present to the infinite breath that is always available to us, I just invite us into a time of meditation and allow yourself to tap into your imagination, tap into the faculty in your mind that is able to visualize images, and see where your mind will take you on a walk of nature that demonstrates and illustrates the many ways that we can find abundance just in our natural landscape. So perhaps you find yourself on a beach noticing the grains of sand. Perhaps you notice yourself walking in a field with an infinite number of blades of grass. Notice where your mind takes you and place your attention on the plenty. reach out and touch the abundance that is in your environment. Notice what it feels like to the physical touch. How does the temperature of the air feel on your skin? What is the scent around you? Invite yourself to walk through this environment really present to the abundant nature of this earth plane. Take another series of breaths, bringing your attention back into your body. And it is here that we recognize this one and infinite presence. The infinite nature of life, the infinite nature of God that is expressing in, through, and as each of us in perfect and divine order. Knowing that the very cells of our bodies, every corner of our consciousness is the vastness of spirit. So from that place of oneness, I just bless our time together this evening. Knowing that we are divinely guided to steep ourselves and anchor ourselves in the spiritual truth of abundance and prosperity. That we come together inside of that high and holy commitment to be a body of people committed to the revelation of this truth in and as our very lives. So I lay down any idea that abundance or prosperity are outside of us and absolutely remain open and receptive to the revelation that abundance is nearer than our breath. And I just declare that this evening is an opportunity that we may have new eyes to see that which is already all around us. I'm very grateful for that. And so it is. It is. So, I would love for us to just do a little check-in on what our wins were from this past week. You know, that was that was in some of what we set up last week. Part of our commitment and some of what was in the workbook is to start to pay attention to that which is all around us. And, you know, she uses the example of, you know, a friend who offers to treat you for lunch as like a mini moment of our abundance and where we are willing to receive it. So I'd love for us to just do like a check-in, and if you don't have it written or if it's not handy, just like get present to what has happened since we were together last week. You know, we were together 7 nights ago. So what has happened in your world of prosperity and abundance that comes to mind?
I received 600 checks in the mail.
We received 600 checks in the mail.
To be written.
Ah!
To be written. A new book of business checks.
Awesome. But great perspective. I love that too. Cool.
So I went home, I was after class, and then I'm selling some stuff on eBay, and these pair of shoes that I'm selling from literally 20 years ago sold for $70.
Wow.
So I went home to that, and then this week I got 2 clients.
Yes. Cool.
Good.
Yeah. Awesome. We can just popcorn around.
I sold a rolling photo bag that you put cameras in for $70
Cool.
on Craigslist. So, and I just started with a really large client, freelance working from home. And I'm they're very heavily matrixed organizations, so I was getting up to speed on understanding their processes and the people and everything else and the copywriting. And I was also able to spend time with my mother at lunch, and I was able to be more patient and more giving and happier when I'm with her. She's elderly. She's 87. She's a little out of it, so you need a lot of patience.
Cool. Well, I was treated to breakfast this morning, and I had a conversation with someone this afternoon that felt like some really good energy moved, you know, like there was sort of like a tightness and a restriction in the relationship. And one of the things I'm most grateful for is my willingness to be very forthcoming and candid, because for me, that's a vehicle for things to move, you know? Like there was a conversation that needed to happen, and I knew that that responding or reacting to an event a week ago was not the place from which I wanted to come. And enough time, I've sat with it now for enough time that it was good to move the energy. And I'm just very aware that when I do that, I really open up space for other stuff to show up, you know? I'm like, God, I mean, what's coming to me is like, gosh, if we could really take on the world of resentments in our time together in the next 10 weeks, that will open up all kinds of channels for our good. So thank you for sharing about your mom. That reminded me of that.
My daughter bought me ties. That was really fun.
Nice.
It was a little surprise. And then I received $50 this week. And then
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I have another one.
Mhm.
Well, it's also, this is happening at the same time I have new account myself, which it's really easy for me to like look and see exactly how many payments I've received. So, you know, I took that 10%. And then, you know, then my mind has the thought, well, this is enough that can cover my book as well. So I can just take that out. And then, I mean, justifiably, that's fine. It's really okay. And then but I had the thought before, from the last class, that my intention of this class is really looking to find those places where I'm still withholding.
Yeah.
And like open them up and let them go. It's like that. And so I just kind of like, I sat with the thought for a minute, because I'm not like that decisive. Like I'm not going to choose right now, like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. So I just sat with it for a little while, and I felt how it felt when I thought about writing a separate check to pay for the books. And it felt like I was letting go of that little place where I'm withholding, and just like opening and creating. So it felt really good.
Yeah. That's cool.
Well, I got home last Thursday, and I don't know why this always goes to my think that even after I quit my corporate job, I always just
think that there's gonna be this magical check in the mailbox. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing my work. Anytime it wants to show up in the mailbox, it's cool. So it actually did happen. I got my realtor that I haven't used in like 2 years sent me a gift card and said, congratulations on your baby, and like for $25. And I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Ready to go home tonight. Like, so that was really awesome. And then my husband and I have been making a plan about like clearing out some debts and that kind of stuff. And I had a conversation with one of my friends, and I was like, I have to out myself. Like, I would like help, but I can't bring myself to ask you for it. And I feel weird about that, but at the same time, I'm just kind of outing myself about that. And then, like, once again, like, you're talking about energy moving, and it just kind of, like, moves some stuff, like, in the relationship with him. And then, like, talking with my husband about, like, what the conversation was just really open. He was like, okay, well, then what do we want to create? You know what I mean? Like, there. And with, you know, in space that was kind of left in that relationship. So it was really, it's been, yeah, like a nice, I definitely feel more supported in abundance, like after that conversation. So that felt good.
Cool.
I have been keeping like my money just like out of fear and stuff, like just like I mentioned like I need to save this. So anyway, so this last weekend I did the seminar on keys, and so it felt really good to just get the energy moving in that regard. Just having it no longer be like, oh, I can't do that, or I need to save, or so that was good.
Yeah.
The workshop was good too.
Wow.
Just gonna follow on that, because I was thinking the same thing. I went to the workshop and got her little Karen Russo's little kit, and I've been so busy this week. I'm just now kind of going into it and plan on using this in tandem with Prosperity Plus. And opened up all of her emails today, the second one, and I just woke up. I call myself out too. So I woke up and I was so cranky when I woke up this morning. I'm not usually cranky. It's usually in the morning, not till nighttime. I was just woke up cranky. And so, and one of those where you just don't even know why, but you're just cranky and you're worried. I just really contracted. I'm thinking, I'm sure it was money related. And and I really did all my exercises, all my, well, went to Karen's email, opened up my email, got to hers, and really went through it. And it was such an amazing shift. And I can't remember what, there was one particular line.
I didn't know what I
Yeah,
did.
okay.
Mary Marcy email.
Oh, okay.
So I can't give you a
Exactly. So suffice it to say that shifted my energy, and the rest of my day just went so well, and just feel like my spirits are really, really lifted. And then after her workshop, I did want to be tight, trying to be expansive without being irresponsible financially. And so I thought, okay, I want to get a few things done for the holidays. I want to get some shopping done for the holidays. It's my big goal. Never actually finished it for October. So I was like, I'm going to try it. So I thought, I need some sales. So I went down the street. It was really wonderful little boutique at these, buy one, get half off of the next one. So I got a lot of my shopping done by being expansive and opening up, and I saved some money. That was the shopping done.
Cool. Good for you.
So it was my birthday last week, and naturally I got gifts. So I don't know that this counts.
Of course, all your good counts.
But gifts and was treated to a number of things. But I think what really struck me most was two other things that happened. I reached out to a couple of folks, one of which was someone I had worked with before, was very influential, and I'm looking to network, and he wants to go to lunch, and so I just thought that felt like a good win.
Yeah.
And the other was Saturday, or was it Sunday, I really was putting the work into practice. And I started my gratitude journal again and, doing my visualizations and some other things. And I physically felt different. I just felt like lighter and energized and motivated in a way that I've not for a while.
Yeah.
So I thought
That's awesome. She talks a lot about that, like literally changing the molecular structure of your body through these practices. I think that's so cool.
I think for me, I just felt possible. So then I got a bill in the mail today, and I thought, what happened? I'm thinking, I'm just whatever. Little things like you said, Somebody called me and they said that they just joined Sam's Club, but they put my name on it because they, they could do it. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. I mean, just minor little things, but I just felt
Cool.
about everything. That's why I picked up the mail. And I thought, okay, you know what? But actually, I didn't react. I just thought, you know what? Let's take care of it. One at a time.
Yeah. Are you, I don't know, I don't think we're friends. Are you on Facebook?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, I've been posting these giving logs each week or each day where I'm at night, every night for the month of October, I've been writing, I get to give fill in the blank. And I make a list that's like somewhat exhaustive of my day. And we filed our taxes for 2014 last week. And I was sort of like stunned by the bill because Nathan's self-employed and some of my income is self-employment income. And so I'm like, this is supposed to work to our benefit. Like we're supposed to have lots of write-offs, And so the bill for the IRS was bigger than I anticipated. And I could feel myself getting a little cranky about it. And it's like, Lola, you get to give $20,000 to the IRS as your contribution to this society. And it's like, it literally was like, what a privilege that you even have a $20,000 tax bill. So it's just like, it's sort of like, how do I shift my mindset about this? And it really, it leaves me feeling like, okay, I am at the cause of what is occurring in my life versus at the effect of the IRS,
Well, I did a very thorough accounting of, where I'm at financially. And I realized that I have been living out of I have just enough, right, to manage. Like that has kind of been my story for a long time about money. And when I was looking at the nuts and bolts of that, I'm like, that is a super limiting and actually not accurate perspective of what I have, like there's more than enough, and I'm very open to there being even more than that, but it felt like a really significant shift to just to realize, that consciousness is limiting, it feels contracting, and it's just not true.
Yeah.
Like I have more than I realized that I have, and just really kind of taking that on has felt really good. I remember someone saying a long time ago, I have plenty of money to do everything I want to do. And so that's what I've been kind of living into this week.
Cool. So I had a big sort of, I'll actually do one more big win that I would like to celebrate. My oldest daughter turns 18 on Monday, and since the Stevie Wonder surprise is no longer a surprise, I wanted to still I wanted to sort of add an element of specialness, because I feel like it's a big deal. She's 18 and, I'm celebrating me also. So I said to her, the truth actually is that I told her 2 or 3 nights ago, I said, so, what if you took off Friday so that we could spend the day together before the concert. And she goes, oh, you're going to the concert with me? I was like, yes. And she's like, oh, I asked a friend to go. And I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, the tickets were $200 a piece. I'm going. And I had this like split second moment of like, should I let? You know, I was like, no, I want to go. And I want to hang out with her, you know? So anyway, so we got through that. And then I said, what about taking off school Friday? Because she has busted her tail the first 3 years of high school so that by her senior year, she could like sort of coast. So she has some pretty reasonable classes for her. And she's like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. She's like, you know, I think I'd really like a massage. And one of the things I'm committed to is, largely by way of my family, my kids have had an experience. Now keep in mind, I'm comparing this to my childhood. Relative to my childhood, I feel like my kids have had access to luxury by virtue of my parents. Does that make sense? So like most of the family vacations we go on are because my mom takes us on vacations or whatever. And there's a little bit of a need for me around that, like, oh, I wish that I could be the source of that. And then the brain goes, you know what? They actually don't even know that. So that's just like, they don't know necessarily who's paying for what or whatever. But one of the things I'm really committed to is that my kids have access, enough access, as long as they're under my roof, to luxurious things so that they know what's possible. Because if they have a taste of it, then it's not some idea that's like inaccessible to them. So, and specifically before she goes to college, I want her to experience self-care. Even if, you know, she doesn't have a massage a week, but just that she knows that's something that is accessible. Does that make sense? So she said, I'd really like to get a massage. And I was like, that's perfect. I would love for us to do that. So I got this idea in my mind that I wanted to take her to the Peninsula Hotel for the day. And at first I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we spent the night there? You know, like after this class, I'd meet her there and then we'll have all day there. Well, the rooms are like $800 a night. I don't know if there's a conference going on right now, but they're like really crazy right in this particular evening. So I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. Looking at all of the treatments in the spa, because I wanted to, if we're not gonna spend the night there, let's spend the day in the spa. Well, the treatments are like $500 and $600. I'm like, I could feel myself wanting to do something, but I also didn't want to get on the other side of the spend and feel like, I overextended myself, and what was intended to feel like a really rich experience, now I'm left feeling contracted about, you know? And so anyway, I decided to schedule a massage for the two of us, which is still not an insignificant amount of money, but I was so grateful that I took the time to be related to the cost and related to my budget without just, because one of my old habits can be, I should be able to do that. I work hard, I do all this, I should be able, and it's like, should has never long-term gotten me anywhere. So I just want to celebrate that, because that's like, that is a sign of spiritual maturation on my part, you know? And it sort of reminds me of like what you're talking about. It's like, rather, I don't want to poo-poo the fact that we're getting a massage at the Peninsula because we didn't do the $500 ceremony. That's what they call it, the ceremony. I was like, I want the ceremony. I literally for 3 days was watching myself obsess over wanting to get the ceremony for each of us. Because it says in the description, like, you will leave this in mental, emotional, and spiritual bliss. And I'm like, yes, I want that. But it's like in 2 hours, you've spent $1,000. And it was like,
That's a
perhaps,
big promise, I
that's
just have to
this is a
say.
big promise, right? And I'm like one day, perhaps, and right now an hour massage and a day, because if you get the massage, you have access to the space. So Anyway, that just felt like a really big win for me. Okay, so let me ask you, how many of you actually did the activities in your workbook? Okay, so we have about 50-50. And
For week 1, right?
for week 1, yeah. And none of us listened to the week 1 audio because you didn't have it. Okay, so my recommendation is that we go through week 1 workbook and we're gonna listen to the week 1 audio. I think it'll be a way to just get us on track. Yes, Connie.
I listened to week 1 audio.
Great.
It sounded like last week's video.
It is a lot like it, but there's some nuances. Yeah.
I didn't catch it.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's pull out our workbooks. And we won't do this each week, but for the purposes of improvisation, we'll do this tonight. And for those of you who didn't do your workbook, what I will tell you about my experience with Mary Amanda Morrissey's work, and specifically about prosperity work, is like, do it as it's prescribed, because you will get the biggest bang for your buck if you do it that way. You know, so, all right, so we're on page 2. I'd love for us to, there are a couple questions about this. Let us check in with one another around the practice of tithing. You know, we had a fair amount of conversation about it last week. It's obviously, the entire curriculum, as we discussed, is sort of infused with that conversation. And I'd love for us to share sort of like what came up for us as we sat with that over the last week. You know, what feelings, what thoughts, what beliefs showed up for you?
I actually, that day that our class day, I had received a check for $500. So when it came up with the whole concept of tithing, it felt real easy.
Oh, interesting.
It felt real easy because we talked about it, and I probably would have, if we had not been in class that day, I probably would have just looked at my wallet and pulled out something and something. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But no, but I got the check and I thought, oh, I could do that. It's not a big deal. You know, I didn't even see it, so to speak. So you know what? What's 450 versus 500? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that, like, in the spirit of celebrations, I think that's actually a pretty giant one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't think of it in the terms of like, because I had received it the day on the class. You know what I mean? It was sort of it was quick over. I thought, oh, I just got the check. I could do that.
Cool.
You know? But it was much better than, because then I did use the expression that you said, there were thank you God on it. You know, so there was much more clarity and intention with it, and it just looked really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. You know, Amy and I do checks throughout the week, and I've been doing that also. Thank you God. Sometimes I'll write like, so grateful for you, but there was a nice practice around thank you God. You know, that's cool.
I was committed to tithing prior to, like, you know, I signed up prior to that being lifted, but I had a very kind of reticence about it. I like, okay, I'll try it, you know, like that. And after class, I felt much more excited to try it. Like, it's like I'm looking forward to, like, okay, you know, and I was really paying attention, like, okay, wait, I gotta remember, I got this much, and like keeping track of what I was getting solely for the purpose of knowing the right amount, you know, to bring to class, and like looking forward to, you know, seeing what that does.
Yeah.
And when they were saying, what experience do you have tithing? I'm like, nothing. And I mean, I have no relationship to this word whatsoever.
Were you raised Catholic?
Yeah.
That would be why.
Okay.
I was raised Catholic too. Nothing.
Nothing.
It was like $20 in the basket, call it done.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, when we went to school, I know that the Catholic schools required you to donate a certain amount to the church in order to have a specific rate of tuition. So I know my mom would like be doing those calculations, but it was like looked at as part of our tuition to school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not like a spiritual practice.
No, and it had nothing to do with how much income you made. It was just like, if your kid goes to this school, you need to donate this dollar amount,
Yeah.
you know, in addition, like
Yeah.
as an obligation.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I feel like that's the word that really starts to untangle things, is like when we are giving from obligation or giving for ourselves. Yeah. Cool.
Just from that conversation, what comes up for me is that I would prefer in many cases that the money that I give isn't justified. Like it's not because of this product or service or whatever. It's just because I want to support this, you know, because they have the opportunity, or you know, like from the school being part of what you're getting by putting your money into tithing. It's like, well, that justifies it, and that kind of takes the fun out of it. So for the money to really be justified, it actually takes the gratuity out of it. It takes the gratitude out of it. It's like, I need to get something. It's like, it takes the faith out of it.
Yeah.
For me, in that situation. And so, and there are other situations in my life where it's like, I really want to be able to just give without having it justified, or be able to take an approach where it's like, I'm giving and it's justified through the system, but I want to express my gratitude for the opportunity to give anyway, even if you're justifying it. I still want to express that it's gratuity, it's gratuitous on my part, you know? And I think in that it's just, I'm trying to come from a place of gratitude. I'm giving it the meaning that it has for me.
What's cool about what I hear you saying is that you're being highly related to your circulation of money. Like there's an intentionality about it, you know? And I just think that like, that's super cool.
Well, it sounds to me you've been talking about it to get to give, you know, and that you're like, no, I don't want to be in this give to get model. That's not working for me, regardless of the circumstances. I want to be in the get to give end of the opportunity.
Cool. All feelings are welcome here, so it doesn't have to be the warm and fuzzy.
And I never tithe. I'm Jewish and didn't even know what it meant until I came here.
Although it's from the Hebrew Bible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I am committed to tithing through this class, and it'd be based on the income I make every week. But I'm also worried that it's going to, I mean, I've always given money to causes, and I have very specific causes I give to. I'm afraid that it's going to take away from all the animal causes that I give to. Because I can only give a certain amount. So, I mean, it's valid. So, it's kind of worrying.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, you sharing that concern. I feel like one of the ways that we'll grow in this practice is, and I don't know if she talks about it in this work, but Spiritual Economics is a really great book, and once you're done with this, and if you're looking for more to chew on, I highly recommend it. But just creating the distinction between spiritual giving and charitable giving. And so the notion that, you know, spiritual giving, so if we were to use spiritual giving and tithing as synonymous, is giving to God first. And I always, like, even for myself, I always have to uncollapse, not some anthropomorphic being out there, but God as like the source of all life. Like, this is my practice where I say the first 10 I give back to this generative universe. And wow, wouldn't it be great to build a muscle where you are able to both give spiritually to your own practice of nourishment and give charitably. And it's sort of like working out in a gym, you know, it's like, and that's the idea of, I mean, for this class, it's designed to be like, okay, we're going all in. We're going to 10%, we're going all in. But when we're teaching spiritual giving, that's why it's like, start a level of giving at where you feel uncomfortable, because it's like building a muscle, like in a gym, you know. And you know what part of I feel like part of the practice is we're building our prosperity muscle, and then the end game would hopefully be that you're experiencing an expanded sense of prosperity, so that you don't feel the constraints of either or.
Yeah, I'm trying it on. I'm trying
Yeah.
it on. It's new, so.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Anything come up for anybody else?
I don't know if this is the place to talk about it, but where I'm struggling is around tithing of the time. I like the money part, I was like prepared for it, I was reticent but ready, I'm feeling excited, but 4 hours in my week feels completely overwhelming to me. And like, I've been trying to carve out 2 hours for something else and been completely unsuccessful. So I'm like, 4, where's that gonna come from? And I guess I don't totally understand if I'm not specifically saying like, okay, I'm taking these 30 minutes and giving it to this person. Like you talked a little bit last time about incorporating it into your day, being a person of increase, but like, can I do that at work when I'm already getting paid for what I'm doing there? Like, I don't know, it's confusing to me.
Yeah, I would say if that is the consciousness from which you are acting, then yeah. You know, like I feel like my get to give practice, that is totally me being a person of increase. So every day I spend about 30 minutes doing that. So that's 30 minutes of time spent. You're the class assistant, right? So there's some amount of time at the front end of the class and the back end of the class, and any email correspondence or anything else you take on. So there's, you know, I think that you might just start to notice where you are already doing it, you know? But it's great to have the perspective like, wow, the money feels easier than the time.
Yeah.
It's good noticing.
Well, and I have another question about it. So, like, one thing that came up to me when I was thinking about today is like, I'm taking the kids on this trip to Great America this weekend, and like, well, it's part of a birthday gift, but it's like a huge undertaking of my time that I'm like giving to this. I'm like, does that count? Like, it's confusing to me. Like,
I'm curious why I
line?
think that wouldn't count.
I don't know, I guess because it may be part of the Catholic thing is like, service is you carve this time out and go to the, you know, we had like confirmation projects where you had to like count your service hours, and it had to be like, I'm tutoring you in this class for 1 hour and I'm not getting anything back from that, you know, and it's not your birthday, and it's not like any special occasion for you. It's you have a need, I'm supplying it, I get 0. Like, that's what counts, you know, as service.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of notion that I grew up with, it's like, it feels like I'm cheating if I'm counting something that's not that definition or something. So I guess I'm like looking at, well, what is the definition here?
I think Amy wants to add something.
I took it as that I am being conscious and raising the vibration of the people around me. So then I'm like consciously saying, so like my example from this week, so I was at McDonald's drive-thru, and yes, it happens. I mean, they serve millions. I am one of them. You know, there was that thing where the window stayed open, and there were still 2 or 3 cars in front of me. So then, like, the cashier who's already taken my money is still just standing there, and I have my window down, and I'm like, like that awkward, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm sitting in my car, I've already paid, and her window is still open at McDonald's, you know what I mean? Like, and the cars in front of me are not moving. So we're just like
I got it.
there together after the socially acceptable exchange is done,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I can raise the vibration. And I was like, how are you? And she's like, what in the hell? Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, no, like, how is your day going? Like, how long have you been? Do you have much longer to go? Like, you know, how are you feeling today? And she was like, oh, good. Nobody asked me that. And I was like, well, you know, and then like the window closes as we're having our conversation because it's automatic. But you know, like the timer had gone up. And I was, and then she like hit it again, and I was like, well, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just got to spend a couple minutes. It's so great to meet you, you know, like, blah, blah, blah. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Like, and then I drove, like, you know, to get my food, and I was like, well, you know what I mean? Like, just taking the opportunity to be like, I could, like, just sit here awkwardly or be on my phone or roll up my window and just be weird to her.
Mhm.
Or I could acknowledge that she is there and, like, raise the vibration of her day a little bit. And so that's how I see it. I don't see it as, like, because I feel like I'm in service most of the day. So then I was like, okay, well, how can I then, like, continue to increase that? And it's not, I didn't hear her say, take out 4 hours, spend them only like doing this or doing that. I heard her say, like, be aware of your presence and almost your power in raising the vibration of those around you, and then take those opportunities as they feel like right and good, you know? And so, like, you might not be able to, like, that interaction took 2 minutes. I'll check that off my
4 hours. I would be around by this 4 hours.
Well, it sounds like you're gonna be way over 4 hours by way of this birthday party. The other thing that I think is
bank it for next week.
Yeah, I know. Right? I'm like, this is at least an 8-hour extravaganza.
Now, I'm not going to count it per kid.
Well, there are a couple things that I would invite you to notice.
Yeah.
One is, I would say, if the experience of giving the birthday party leaves you in a place of being depleted and any degree of resentment, that would probably not qualify as service. So if you notice that coming, because my guess is the intention of the gift was from the spirit of service.
Yes.
And so it like would be a really great exercise to notice any time the mind goes, why the hell did I say I was going to do this? This is like, because you sort of even said it as you were sharing about, like, this is a lot of flipping work. And it's like, oh, notice, you know, because it's like you might be able to bank a whole series of weeks of, you know, and you might be like, well, I could get through 3 of the 10 hours and I get credit for them.
Okay.
The other 7 will filled with resentment. It's like, okay, well, that's good to notice. The other thing that is good for all of us to uncollapse is the idea that giving to need is somehow holier. And I would say in the art or the practice of spiritual giving, the idea is actually to give to that which spiritually nourishes you, so that it is a win-win for all involved, versus that sort of old model of giving to need. That's charitable giving. That is different from spiritual giving. It's a nuance. But, you know, it's like when you hear people say, I went to be of service to these people in need, and I got so much more out of it than I gave. That's when you know that is spiritual giving, not charitable giving. You know, because there's a real reciprocity. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I think that is actually the piece that I was struggling with, that I feel like if there is some kind of reciprocity involved in it, then in my old model, it doesn't count. And actually, that's what we're going for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's very helpful.
Yeah. And sometimes the reciprocal nature of life does not show up from where you gave, right? So it's not always like I'm giving here and so I'm getting here. But if I'm living as a person of increase, I can rest assured that I will be also living in the flow of life. So, cool. Let's see. Oh, I think this is a great question. It was brought up in the video last week, but it's in the workbook also. Describe 3 ways your life would be different if God, and of course that's some kind of external force, did away with money and willed you to enjoy a good life. How would your life be different?
The primary one I would cause, I would release all of my limited thinking around money, period. You know, that would just be non-existent. You know, do I have enough for this? Can I buy this? Do I have to wait now? You know, all those kinds of questions that kind of come up automatically because we're so conditioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with that,
There's a freedom.
yeah, what that reminds me of is probably the next prosperity class we teach here will be financial freedom. Julia, did you ever take financial freedom? It is such a good class. It is like a sort of an old school class, but one of the exercises which you could take on just sort of as extra credit in here is demonstrating your abundance through means other than money. Because we are so sort of domesticated into thinking that money is the catalyst for good to show up in our lives. And in financial freedom, which is really what I hear you speaking to, Judy, is like the ability to manifest things other than through the exchange of money. You know, like I wanted to create an extra layer of specialness. I'm like, keep trying to up the specialness factor for Lauren's birthday. And so I said to the person taking the reservation, like, hey, I just want to throw out there that, you know, we're coming for my daughter's 18th birthday. And they're like, oh, we'll definitely make a note of that. And I'm like, who knows what that will create, you know? And it's like, how could we, and that becomes actually like a really fun game. It's like, ooh, how could we play calling things into our world other than through the exchange of money? I used to be someone who, like, almost out of a place of discomfort would offer to treat at, you know, breakfast, lunch, or dinner so that it wouldn't get sort of awkward. And now I sometimes require myself to sit in the awkwardness, just to see, like, what if someone would be willing to treat? So often I wasn't even allowing the opportunity to show up. I was like beating people to the punch. So it's a cool exercise. What else? If there wasn't some external force that was withholding your good, what would your life look like?
I'm gonna call myself out because there's nothing written down here. I got to that and I went, what? It went on. And then, and this is what went through my head. What do you mean if God took away all the money? He already freaking did. You know, and here I am. And I've had to spend some time because I lost my vocation, I lost my career. All these things happened that I didn't think that I had any part in to went otherwise, but nonetheless, that's where I was. And am to some degree. So I've spent this time around with, well, okay, what do I do? What came about because everything was taken away? What came about because I lost my house and I lost this and that and I'm actually living a much better, peaceful, harmonious life than I did before. I don't have the stress level I used to. I have things appearing for me and I didn't know I even asked for it, and yet there it is, and I'm just loving it. And it was like, you know, for all my discomfort, I really had to live through a whole lot to find out that I really have a lot. And it's okay not to have money. It's amazing when you don't have money. What happens?
Yeah.
Life happens. And it's been lots of big things around people, more about people.
Yeah.
And I used to be a people. My career was in people business.
Yeah.
But it's richer now.
What you're saying makes me think of, I can't remember the name, what his name is, but I feel like he's one of the founders of Kundalini Yoga. And he has a quote where he says, I don't have a desire to create disciples. I have a desire to create teachers. And I saw it again recently, and I had the thought, this place is a place that trains teachers. Every single person in this room, I really believe this, is here. We are so, I believe, so far on the edge of creation, like the conversations that we have here, that we are those that are being trained to be teachers in the world. And if you don't go through hardship and challenge, you don't have lots of great material from which to teach. And so it's like, it really can sort of like, I am aware that I have an infinite number of stories that involve trauma and triumph. And as such, like, I'm really well equipped to speak to lots of people because I've walked that. And if we are a place of teachers, then we must be willing to like dismantle all of the constructs that have us, like, that keep us separate from one another. Like, I think about you, Julie. I'm like, what you guys may not know about Julie is Julie has had a very successful career, right? I mean, you've played in some, like, significant business circles. And there's a way that, like, if it always went that way, it's sort of like, it's very vanilla. You know what I mean? And it's like, when you get on the other side and you get to that place of triumph, you are such a gift to those that you interact with. But there is, like, I was with Jim Dethmer at a thing last month, and he said, we can create whatever confidentiality agreements you guys want for this group that meets once a month. And just know that, like, anything I say, you're welcome to share with anyone. Because he's so committed to living in an experience of there's nothing to hide. And it's like, when we are willing to live from that place, we liberate ourselves in such a huge way. Because we're just so trained to have all these like constructs of, like, I have it together, I have it together, I have it together, I don't want anyone to know, I don't have it together. You know, it's like the age old, like, it's easier to find a job when you have a job. What's that? Why is that? Because it's all about having it together, I have it together, I have it together. And it's like, oh my gosh. So we're literally walking through the world like, you know, and it's like, that's that place of constriction. It's like, how do you let it in? And I'm not saying like I don't know that it's useful for us. The point is not to share all the, like, I actually try not to share stuff that I'm in the middle of because it feels very heavy to the receiver. But when I've gotten to the other, it's why I really try to do my work, because when I get to the other side of it, it's so rich. So it's just something, I can't remember what we were talking about that made me think about that, but yeah, I just really like that idea of us being a place of teachers. That this idea that everything that is happening is truly happening for us and for the expansion of humanity, you know? So anything else that jumps out to you guys about this idea of, like, if only there wasn't a God outside of myself that was preventing me from my good, what would be possible? I had a conversation with someone this week who has been experiencing a lot of financial constriction in their life for a number of years now. And they said if I were to sell my house, I could pay off all my debt and I'd have like several $100,000 in the bank. But I just need God to make it clear what I'm supposed to do here. And I was like, it's clear! It's very clear! You wouldn't be living in the experience you're living in now. And this is like, it's not like this has just been a temporary, it's like this has been going on for a number of years. And I, like Nathan and I went through that period where it was like, several years ago, it was like, should we sell our house? Like, are we holding on, you know? And I wasn't sure that, it wasn't, like I felt like it's not time for us to sell this place. There's something for us to get on the other side of. And I'm grateful, for us, that was the right choice, you know? But it was just interesting, like when we were like this. No. And you know, they're like, well, what if the point is I'm supposed to say yes to staying here and I've been ambivalent? And it's like, well, I don't know, but you should choose which one it is and then create from that place. Because right now you're living in, what is this external force of God telling me to do? And it's like, that is not real. You are the one.
I think it was Einstein that said, the bigger the decision, the quieter you need to get.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And what I picked up from this was just that if this really were the case, if, you know, this great commandment came down today, it would require everybody to change their whole perspective about everything.
Yeah.
Okay, because you could not, because actually when I first thought this, I said, well, all right, so then maybe you exchange foods. And I thought, but how do you get the ingredients for those foods that you prepared, you know what I mean? So I started going a little bit like into the next step, peeling away, in that it would require all sorts of creative alternatives if there really was no other official barter tool.
Yeah.
But then you would be exchanging services, you'd be exchanging time, you know. If you were creative, that would be maybe lessons versus, you know, then it's the how do you get, you know, your materials. But there'd be all this exchanging going on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
As opposed to like just going to the hotel with your credit card and getting a room and, you know, treating yourself in that perspective.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it has a lot more to do with how do you, instead of how do you get what you need, how do you give what needs to be supplied?
I think it'll build more community all the time too, you know, because you're doing it because you're being involved in a continual exchange and sharing.
Yeah. Who did the exercise of cleaning out your wallet and or your purse? Interesting. Interesting.
My wallet's pretty clean.
Do you mean when you said like organize the?
Yes.
I do that all the time. I used to do that
Yeah.
before I did it this week, which is
Great. Yeah. So I would encourage you to do it. If you like, and notice where do you have this like I'm terrible at this. I don't use cash all that often, so I don't really have a wallet that is cash friendly because I just keep like a little folded thing. And so as a result, I just throw stuff in my purse, you know? But there's something about creating order in the environment. And, you know, she talks in the upcoming week about every day find something to clean out or clean up, whether it's a drawer, whether it's a section of your closet, whether it is you know, get that stuff out, move it, move it, move it. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but if anyone's familiar with Dave Ramsey's work, oh my gosh, that's another class I wanted to hear. Financial Peace University. It is like straight up evangelical Christian practices, but it's powerful work. The book is called The Total Money Makeover. That's a secular book. And there are 4 steps. The first is in 30 days, save $1,000. I don't care if you have to sell stuff that you have. I don't care, like short of prostitution, generate $1,000 in 30 days. And it's completely a psychological exercise because when you see you can do that, you're like, holy smokes, look at me, out of nowhere, I just generated $1,000. I don't know why I mentioned that.
Because I needed it.
Somebody needs to hear it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, it's so good.
So what's
Assuming it was some
that?
kind of practice you were going to recommend that he recommends because you started with cleaning out closets.
Oh, yeah, well, that idea of like, much like what you guys shared in your celebrations, like we actually have stuff that is of value that we no longer hold near and dear to us. Get that stuff out. You know, I mean, I remember being in periods where it was like, we gotta like come up with something here. And I was literally going through my jewelry, like, let's find some gold in here that doesn't feel all that special and it's worth something. You know, and it's like, you gotta do that. It's like, number one, why am I holding on to jewelry I don't even like that like could actually put cash in my pocket? Get that stuff moving. Or are you gonna say, John?
It's funny to say, I clean my closet all the time and stuff, but lately I've been putting stuff in bags, and I say I'm gonna give it away, and I have bags of stuff in the trunk of my car, so I drive around with it in my car.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, where am I gonna take it? Where am I gonna take it? I mean, I drive around with it.
Yes.
I used to do that too. It was like managed storage.
Yeah.
I actually have that in my car right now, but I've done the research, I know where it needs to go, so if you want some tips, I'll give that to you.
So Julie, by next Thursday, will you have that stuff out?
I think so, I'm focusing on redoing my resume, so that needs to be a priority, and so that's why I just haven't done it yet.
But wouldn't it take just a matter of minutes?
No, if I wanna sell it, I
Oh,
gotta
you're
go
selling it.
away,
Got it,
yeah,
got it,
that's
got
why-
it, got it.
Yeah, if it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just to get rid of it,
Yeah,
definitely have to set it up.
yeah, cool. I can't remember this other woman that wrote a book on organizing, and she said, you know, we have all been trained that if you haven't used something in a year, get rid of it. And she's like, scrap that philosophy. If it does not give you life and bring you joy, get rid of it. Who cares if you haven't used it in a year?
I always lived by the philosophy, this has worked for me personally, but it started shoes. For every new pair of shoes I brought in, I made one go.
Yeah.
And I did it with my kids and stuff, so it really helped. And
So you got rid of the kid?
No,
You got another kid, you got rid of the first one.
It's funny. Okay, so in week 2, we're really gonna start to get specific about the 4 areas of life and creating a vision for what we want. So we're going to focus on financial, health, relationships, and creative expression. So let's listen to the CDs as long as we're together so that we get a leg up. And I'm gonna ask you guys to take notes on what we're listening, because otherwise your brain will check out. So it's a way to stay engaged in what we're doing. And then before we leave, we're going to do our offering, where we're really in our practice of circulating our good. And as a reminder, we're not gonna give in the Sunday offering, we're gonna give in our class. So if you already did, that's no problem. We'll just we'll write the dollar amount on a piece of paper, because part of our exercise is tracking all of the money that circulates through us as a collective. Okay, so so I'm not gonna disable. We're not gonna take a break because it's a shorter class. I'm not gonna disable my scheduled giving. I'm just gonna write down how much that is when it goes through. Does that make sense? And then we'll tally it that way. Were you gonna say something, Abby? Oh, okay. Okay, let's make a choice actually. Do you guys want to watch the 7-minute promo video, or do you want to listen to 30 minutes of the audio CD? Great. Again, who, raise your hand if you, no one's listened to the audio CD except Connie, because you got your materials, right?
I kind of did, I thought the same thing. Oh, wait, I listened.
It does, it's basically, in principle, a repeat, but honestly, I'll tell you, we could listen to this stuff over and over and over again, and it won't do anything but be good for us. Yeah. Yeah, a number of times. Oh, we don't have the speakers hooked up.
There's part 1 and part 2. Are we
Yeah.
listening to both parts?
Both of them, yeah. So each week, like this week, if you didn't complete workbook 1, I encourage you to do that. Listen to the CDs for workbook 2 and then do the exercises in workbook 2.
And I'm here tonight because, let me just say this, I'm Mary Madden Morrissey, and I'm here because there are principles and practices that have absolutely transformed my life, and I know absolutely they will transform your life. If you're willing to just give them half a chance and play by their rules. There's a man who went to a bank to cash a check. He went to the phone and said, "Can you cash this check?"
It's
And
not the
someone looked at
same.
check and said, "Yeah, I can cash this check. Just put your name on the back of the check and I'll give you
No,
the money."
it's not.
And the man backed up and he said, "Wait a minute, I don't want to put my name on the back of
Hang
that
on,
check
let's
and
just
hand it
double
to
check.
you."
I did listen
And I
to
will
it
say
a couple
that I am
times.
absolutely both blessed and honored to bring to you my partner in life said, "Adam, God said, I'm doing away with money."
I don't know. I swear to God, I listened to this the other
Go have
other
a
day and it
great
was
night.
different.
How does that feel? Put that on. Now, in the spiral universe, we
Maybe
learn
it is
both
the
through
exact
our
same.
gain and we learn through our loss. We learn from what works and we learn from what doesn't.
No, I
work.
don't. I want you
Because
guys
the
to do that
universe
on
is
your
constantly
own.
sending us signals. It, not it. It, not
Week
it.
2?
And if we don't pay
You wanna
attention
listen
to
week
the little
2?
nudges, we get some big
Yeah?
red
Okay.
whacks. I've had a few.
All right. I think that the audio too, something is different, because I listened to this and I'm like, that was not on the video. So we'll see. But yeah, let's listen to week 2.
Well, good evening, Mary Morrissey. It's a brand new baby day. It's a brand new baby day. Good evening, everybody. We begin our day. Whenever we're traveling together, I remind her, and then there's times when she reminds me that this is a brand new, never lived before day. It starts this moment. Any moment you choose, it is the rest of your life starting from here. And so we have a practice that every single day we remind each other if we happen to be together or talk for something, talk to, "Hey, guess what? Did you know this?" Sometimes we just have lulled ourselves into routine, forgetting. Something wonderful is happening with us. It's this thing called life. And for all of you who are wondering what happened to her hair, I went to one of your emeritus board minutes. Would you just raise your hand? Al said to my hair. I said, "What do you think?" Thank you. A fresh new start. That's what we're all in, okay? About brand new baby day, I would really like for everybody to take on this life assignment to wake up every morning and say, "It's a brand new baby day." And it's a brand new baby day. I know, we'd be traveling a couple of years ago and Mary would wake me up and just like, it's a brand new baby day. I'm like whatever. And I didn't really get it. And after you start to hear it and you start to live from that experience of being awake to it being a brand new baby day and staying awake to the possibility, not only the abundance, but the possibility that's in front of us. Because we tend to think we know what that day is going to be, and we don't. We have no idea of the beauty and the possibility and the joy and the abundance and everything that will come to us that day. So you want to stay awake to it and be in gratitude for it's a brand new baby day. Never lived before, never will happen again. A very, very precious gift of the universe and a human incarnation. And the great thing about recognizing a day is that it is a lifetime in miniature. It has a beginning and it has an end. And this human incarnation has a beginning and it has an end. And so when we honor and recognize each day as one of the great gifts of this book of life that we call our human birth, it absolutely opens our eyes to seeing things that are right here but we couldn't see before. And that's really what we discover, because this class is called Prosperity Plus a New Way of Living. It's not a new way of getting. It's not even a new way of giving, although some of those experiences will become part of our practice. But it's a new way of living. And part of it is being awake to the abundance that is right here, right where we are. And it starts by being awake to the fact that every single day is a gift. And it's a brand new, never lived before day. Would you like to open us with prayer or a statement from you? Well, absolutely. I would love to open us with prayer. Go ahead and close your eyes for a moment. And I would like to begin this prayer by giving thanks for the very life that is in this room. That each soul that has chosen to show up here tonight is ready to make a difference, not only in their own lives, but in the lives of the many people around them. Through this work that we do tonight, we will not only discover a new way of living, a new way of being, and a new way of contributing that will radiate peace throughout our world. I know the work we do brings us to a state of abundance in every area of our life. And we, tonight, as a group, walk through this work tonight and come out the other side with a very keen awareness of the abundance that we already experience, and that we spend every moment in gratitude for who we are, what we have, and what we're to be. Thank you, God. Thank you, Karen. So let's just begin with a little bit of sharing about this last week. You took on a mighty assignment. You took on a mighty promise. You took on a mighty commitment, which was you made a decision to commit to play with the universe according to its terms. That you were going to learn how to write a check the universe could read by getting in harmony with the way it works in the universe. We decided to trust at least 5,000 years of written history, but more than that, our intuitive knowing that the universe is spiritual in nature and operates by spiritual law that manifests materially in form. And so we decided to do a great experiment. And for 10 weeks, we would bring practices into our thinking, into our behavior, and into the way we handle the substance that is the visible substance that is ours, drawn from an invisible substance that is infinite, to begin to establish and experience a larger expression of who we are as living beings and what that means in our world. And so the experiment began. Now, how many of you were not here last week or did not sign the commitment card? You're brand new. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're really glad you're here. Let's welcome all of you.
It's sort of odd to me that they record all that.
So just to rehearse, this class is offered, and tonight is the last open class. You're here tonight, you're welcome to sit through the class, but if you want to continue for the adventure and for the experiment for the next 8 weeks following tonight, then there is a commitment to be made. There's not a fee for the class, but we can't give you something that you're not willing to receive. You know, we can't get the universe to operate differently. We can't tell gravity, please just don't work for you today. You didn't like gravity very much, and so you wanted to fly today, so we just can't get gravity not to work for you. But we can tell you how to work with gravity in such a way that once you understand how gravity or electricity or mathematics or aerodynamics, any of the laws of the universe that are what we call material laws, but also the spiritual laws, we can show you how if you work with them, the universe delights to lift you in an ever freer, fuller, expanded version of life itself. So the commitments are to attend each one of the classes, unless you've already have something prearranged before tonight, and also to commit to tithing 10% of your income and to tithe your time and talent each week. And so if they were to tithe their time and talent each week, how much would that be? That would be 2 to 4 hours at my house. That is 4 hours a week. And you can do that all at one time, or you can break that up into different chunks if you'd like. And service you could be showing up to a church or nonprofit organization and volunteering your time. You could also volunteer to help a neighbor, to get groceries for someone, to babysit for a couple that may need a night out. There are different ways to do service. You could just stop and help somebody carry their groceries to the car and spend 5 or 10 minutes. And you will notice that at the end of the week that you've added up to 4 hours. So it is one of the ways to supersize your abundance to be of service.
This is the first time we've offered this, and it's sort of antithetical to how I like to roll. Like, I would much prefer you can listen to this stuff on your own time. I don't want to sit in this class and listen to this. I'm just aware of that. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
I'm becoming aware that this is really intended for communities that they literally need someone to teach a class for them. And that's not really who we are. So would you guys be okay if I take the material and put it in the way and create some stuff for us to do during our 2 hours together, and we do that? Because I think you can listen to this on your own.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Experiential.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what we're really good at here, is creating experiences. And even if those experiences come by way of conversation that we learn from one another, it will make a difference. You can do this work at home. I would be more comfortable with that.
It'd be great if it was in podcast form, because then I could do it in private.
I know, I'm totally with you. I mean, you could put it all on your iPhone. They're all MP3s.
An old Discman.
Your car doesn't have a CD player?
Oh. It holds my cell phone. It plugs into the CD. The old CD slot
Oh.
is now my cell phone.
Uh-huh. All right, so I don't want to do this like this. It doesn't feel meaty enough for me, and you can do it at home. But I do think the material's really good, so I hope you will do it at home, because it will augment what we create over the next 7 or 8 weeks together in a powerful way.
I just have one question on all 4 of this.
Yeah.
So when we come to class next week, we've just listened to week 2 or week 2 and week 3?
Yeah, that's the good question. In on week.
That means week 1 as well.
Yeah. Well, we've
Already really heard.
Yeah, and here's is this big. So I would say, I think she says some really good statements in here that are just to hear. So I would encourage you to take the time to listen to them. You know, when she breaks down the spiritual and material universe, she has some really powerful nuggets that we won't get in our workbook, and that I think she says really distinctly. You know, if you're worried about having to listen to week 1, just caught up, if you want to start week 3 or week 2, would try to listen to as much of it as possible, but I will take the material and I will create a class of it. And I think we'll create something that's just a little more interesting.
How long is each CD? Are we talking in terms of?
Most CDs each week.
45 minutes each on average. So it's essentially 90 minutes for each week.
But the video was only an hour.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think there's more stuff. The video is 50 minutes and CDs are longer than that.
Is the video one CD? Is it a second CD, or is it actually just like condensed more?
What's the
I'm
question?
saying, well, I guess I can figure it out myself, but I mean, if I were to listen to week one, is the second CD something that was different than the video?
I don't remember because I listened to them in snippets and yeah.
To me, it was the whole movie, and I didn't recognize a whole lot of new stuff, just a couple of little things.
Yeah, it's like a whole
And
thing.
it didn't really impact me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would let us just say, listen to your audio CDs, do as much as you can to get through week 3. And next week, I'll create a number of things that we can do together that will bring us up to speed from week 1, week 2, week 3 by virtue of experiences. That feels more interesting to me.
I think it'd be really cool if we could cut the video out. If the video and the audio are the same, we could cut the sitting in class watching video out.
Yeah.
And you teach the class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah. Okay, cool. That feels good. I appreciate you guys being sort of like the guinea pigs on this one. And I also feel like given the intimacy of the class, it'd be nicer for us to sit in a circle, especially since we're not gonna do a video. I don't mind sitting up here when it's like 30 people, but it feels a little awkward in this intimate group. Okay, cool. Great. All right, so we're gonna say farewell to Lindsay.